Have you ever wondered where our story is handled by those who are supposed to love and care for? Or, behind the smiles and sweet words, there is a truth hidden, someone prefer to hide in? You may never have thought of it, but believe me, it is often the case that it is not said is more important than what you say. When it comes to family, and this issue becomes even more critical, imagine you find out suddenly that all the family get-togethers, which you have always thought that there weren't anymore, in fact, happen, but in the secret group, away from your eyes and your understanding of it. It may seem like a scene out of a movie, but for those who have lived with this reality, it is a discovery that delves deep into the heart and soul. And what makes it even more difficult is figuring out which of these encounters, these moments that you were supposed to be in the union, and they were hiding just in time to avoid a conversation, is difficult, or even worse, for a reason that I don't like to admit, and the racism shown, to the exclusion of the deliberate will to erase someone from your memory, as if the person were to be a presence in the uncomfortable. Have you ever gone through something like this? You may have never noticed, or maybe you have felt a sense of emptiness, a question that was not answered. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all I'm going to have to tell you now. You will be surprised. The story that I am going to share it reveals more than just a simple family get-togethers. It reveals a design of silence, the nature of the emotional manipulation that is often overlooked, but one that leaves deep scars. And this brand, you're going to see, it is not limited to words or actions that are visible, but if you come in self-esteem, memory, and sense of belonging. Get to know all these details is critical in order to understand how racism is subtle, manifests itself in our daily lives, transform the moments of life with moments to be silently deleted, and once you understand this dynamic, we can begin to reflect on our own behavior and how can we do it differently. So get ready to immerse yourself in a story that will challenge your perceptions and to open their eyes to a reality that is often invisible, but it needs to be heard and addressed, because in the end, the truth always has a way of showing up. If you've come this far, it's because you in any way, this story has touched something inside of you, don't you think? And that is exactly what I would like to invite you to leave a comment, share your opinion, experience, or even the feeling you got when he had heard all of this. Your participation is what gives life to this space, and each word will help to create a network of connections that truly, where do we learn about each other and build the community that seeks to understand and change? If this content made sense to you, don't miss to enjoy this video. This is a simple action to help others, to spread this message to more people who need to hear something like that. In addition to this, if you want to continue with the stories, musings, and everything else that we have to share it, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any news, and it is part of a movement that emphasizes on the contrast, empathy, and the growth of the collective. Your participation here is the instrumental for this channel to continue growing and bringing the content that really makes a difference. Every comment, every like, every application reinforces our mission is to build a place where everyone can feel welcomed and motivated to have a lot of work. So, is invited to share your voice, your mind, and we should all be following the journey of discovery, because the best is yet to come. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we're talking about, not only a change in the surface, something that is noticeable right away, but it is a real revolution in the homeland, one that delves into the roots of what we believe to be possible. Many of the times, we are so attached to our own limitations, they don't even realize how much they are mental constructs are the result of a story that has been imposed on the course of the year. The truth hides behind all this is that for the most part, we are all responsible for keeping the barriers erected without even realizing it, as if it was a defense mechanism, that is, in practice, becomes a prisoner who is invisible. This is where comes the importance of a change in attitude, a change that is about having the courage to confront what we believe to be the essence of it, to challenge what we have been taught, and above all, to ask how far we can get when we let go of the fear of making a mistake or appear to be vulnerable. Because it's a journey of self-discovery is, after all, a day of freedom, a quest for the truth that we can feel in the back, but a lot of times we would prefer to ignore it for fear of what we might find. In the process, and the decisions we make every day, they gain weight even greater. For each and every one of them, it is an opportunity to reinforce or challenge our own self-story. As we come to understand that the choices we make have a direct impact on the quality of our experience, we begin to realize that control of our lives is, in fact, it is in the hands of our way of thinking. Still, it's not an instant change, nor is it something that happens simply because you want to. It is need to have a clear intention, with a genuine desire to turn over the limit. And at the same time, it is necessary to immerse yourself in the behind the scenes of one's mind, to understand where they're coming from, those parts, which are the stories that are repeated without notice. From there, we can begin to deconstruct the beliefs are outdated and to create new narratives that empower us to drive in the go-ahead, even in the face of the most challenging obstacles. It is often uncovers a truth that hides in the haunting them. The greater the resistance to change is within us all. The fear of losing what we've done, the feeling of insecurity, of not being good enough, and the questions that you may have never obtained what they want. All of this feeds into a kind of a vicious cycle that seems too hard to break off. But in essence, what you need to understand understand is that our greatest strength lies in our capacity for decision-making. For each choice, as small as it may seem to you, it's a step in the direction of the transformation. And this awareness is what leads us to rethink the impact of our actions, and to think about how we are shaping our present and, as a result, the future of our world. Because of this, the journey of self-discovery is a real eye-opener. It allows us to look beyond the surface to discover the truth behind the masks that we use to understand that often the biggest obstacle that is in your own head. We desafiamos to question our certainties. We opened up the space for new possibilities to a much broader view of life, and that includes not only your life, but you also have the peace of mind to connect with our emotions and the authenticity of being who you really are. It is in this movement of the inner transformation that we find true freedom, one that allows us to create a new reality from the mind, renewed, stronger, more aware, and more in tune with all our dreams, more of the deep. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic, because you have to understand that the power of change is in our hands. It's only the beginning. The next step is to discover how, in practice, we can apply this knowledge in your routine, such as make every decision as an act of affirmation for those who really want to be. And for this reason, it is important that you open your eyes to the behind the scenes of one's own mental functioning, to find out the triggers that cause us to repeat the old stories, to understand the impact of our emotions, and learn how to use this understanding to create a new narrative, one that is more in tune with our true potential. After all, this is a journey of discovery and the constant evolution of what happens from day to day, to the extent that we allow ourselves to see beyond what the eye can pick up, immersing the fund actually hidden all around us. And, in this way, each and every step brings us to take care of, more strong and more prepared to face the challenges of life. He writes in, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the transformation that we so often hidden under the layers of limiting beliefs, fears, and decisions that we make throughout life without even realizing it. It's as if you're carrying a backpack filled with the thoughts and experiences of that time. They end up shaping our way of looking at the world and, especially, to us. And it is precisely at this point that things start to change, when we begin to question the stories we tell ourselves, and that, too often, are not our own truth. The truth hides behind all of this narrative, one that shows that a large part of what keeps us from moving forward, it's not a question of outward circumstances, but on how we are performing in these circumstances. And this understanding, in turn, is influenced by a system of beliefs that we have been piling up over the years. Thoughts such as, "I am enough," "I'm not going to make it," or "that's not for me to," act as invisible barriers that we have created around us, limiting our potential for growth. And the more you eat of these thoughts, the more they remain, creating a sort of prison of the mind which prevents us from seeing the possibilities beyond what we already know. But it goes to a fundamental question. How do you break down those walls and to really experience a true transformation? The answer to many of the times, it is the courage to confront the truth that is hidden, explore behind the scenes of our minds, and to understand where they're coming from such beliefs. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more intense, as it requires a conscious decision to look within, to take on the responsibility that we have, and at the same time, to make room for a new story, in a narrative that is more in tune with who you really are and what you want to achieve. And here's the impact of this change begin to be felt more directly. This is not just about changing attitudes towards the surface, but it's a true transformation of one's mind. It impacts every decision we make, every relationship we build, and every dream that we can move forward. It's as if, when you dig out those hidden truths, we begin to understand that the power switch is on, for the most part within ourselves, waiting for the right moment to fire. And in that moment, it only happens when you decide to look into as of sincerity. But in the end, the reasons that we often use to justify our comfort zone. To do this, you start to realize that the choices we make are not random, but reflects the sum of all of the things that we believe to be possible or impossible to make. And, contrary to what it looks like, this is the discovery of freedom, because it gives us an opportunity to rewrite our story and create a new script in which we are the players. And in this rewrite is about having the courage, of course, but it's also a dose of curiosity to discover what's behind each and every thought and every feeling that comes up in our day-to-day life. Over time, this is a journey of self-discovery will reveal the deeper layers of the core, and that is where we can begin to understand the true source of our own limitations. Many times, such a person is not in the present, but rather that it is in the back, at a time when our minds have not yet had all the maturity to understand that it really didn't matter. And when you revisit these moments when we can be free from the burdens you don't need and make room for a new perspective, which is lighter and more in tune with our true nature, it is during this process that we begin to understand that change is not something outside of you, something that happens as the case may be, but it's something internal, which is a change that is born in our minds. And this mentality, in turn, influences all around them, creating a ripple effect of impact that can change our reality in a definitive way. The journey of discovering it, in fact, it is a journey of liberation, where we learned how to uncover the hidden truths that keep us from moving forward, and from then on, we started to build a life that is more authentic, more aware, and full of purpose. Because of this, jump in the deep end in this universe and the inner, to explore these scenes in our minds, it is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. After all, it is the depth of our own truths that we have found the key to true transformation, one that will not only change the surface, but by a revolution in the homeland able to have an impact in all aspects of our lives. And, in the process, each discovery, each revelation, brings even more of the life that is aligned with who we really are, our dreams, and the impact that we want to leave you out in the world. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because it is the details, the nuances and insights that can completely transform the way in which we see the journey of personal evolution. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." As they delve deeper and deeper in exploration, we find that the true transformation doesn't happen with the big decisions and changes in the external, but also about the small daily choices that you, as a whole, to shape our lives. It's as if we're building a bridge between the invisible, between who we are now and who we can become. A bridge is made up of the attitudes of mind, the thoughts that enhance our way of thinking, and an attitude that embraces growth as a continuous process. And it is precisely at this point that most of the people lost, too many times without realizing it. The illusion of the changes have to be dramatic or radical in order to be valid, when in fact it is revealed in fine detail, discipline, silent, for those who decide to invest in yourself every day. The magic happens when we learn to look beyond the surface, when we begin to understand the truth hidden. It is hidden in the small actions that we do without realizing it, the routine of it. If it is not assessed with care and attention, you can be in turning away from our dreams come true. This is where it comes to the importance of open-mindedness, a willingness to question what he was programmed to society, and to break down the limiting belief that often we don't really know what's out there. These beliefs, which seem to be harmless, they act as invisible barriers in our minds, making us go on with ease, and that we embrace the new, and that we allow them to be more than what we imagine it to be. And then, on the way, the truth, it hides many of the times. It is our strength to admit that you need help. You can't do it all on their own. It's a revelation to many people to shy away from for fear of looking weak or incapable, but which, in fact, it is the first step in the transformation needs. Acknowledging that there are aspects of us that we need to be careful, to pay attention to learning, it is an act of courage to be that it opens the door to a much more profound. When we accept that vulnerability, we can begin to see the possibilities for change, not as something that is far away or unattainable, but rather as a journey, an accessible, step by step, with each of the decision-making to strengthen our role as a new version. At the same time, this new approach leads us to reflect on the impact our choices have on our history and in the history of our world. Every action, every thought, and the echo of some way to influencing our relationships, our opportunities, and even our own inner peace. It's as if you're writing a story that, although it looks like the staff, he ends up touching the lives of the outside, creating a chain of influence, which only intensifies the more aligned we are with the truth. In this sense, the understanding of the connection between our daily decisions and the impact on our journey of transformation is essential to ensure that it is sustainable and, above all, that it is true. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the one aspect that often goes unnoticed: the role of self-awareness in the process of evolution. Don't you just want to change, or you believe that we will come out by itself? It is necessary, first of all, to get to know who we really are, our passions, our limitations, and our deepest fears. This understanding provides us with a clearer, to set the right steps to eliminate that which no longer serves us, and to strengthen the things that really make sense in a way. And when you do that, you start to realize that the revelations of the most powerful will not come from outside but from the inside, and that an intimate connection with our inner selves. Many times the answer is hidden in the details that we know nothing about the hustle of everyday life, those little inner voices that tell us what we really want to hear it, but they are often drowned out by the noise of the outside world. When we learn how to quiet those voices and listen to it with attention, we can begin to discover the strength that you didn't even know that it existed. This is the strength that comes from self-knowledge. This is the one that drives us to make more informed decisions in a row. You create new routines that nourish our souls, and to build a mindset which appreciates the value of the company's continuous growth. And in doing so, we opened up the space for true transformation, one that is not only temporary, but that it becomes an integral part of our history. In the background, it's all about having the courage to look within, to confront our own personal truths, the more uncomfortable they may seem. Because the only way we were able to build a solid foundation for change, with a base that can withstand the storms, the doubt and the temptation to return to old, bad habits. And while this day is done, the people will learn that it is the transformation of a building and a daily sum of small victories, which, taken together, they reveal a new version of ourselves. It is during this process that we discovered the true impact of our decision-making, and the power of a mindset that embraces the evolution of such a gift, not an obligation. Thinking of all this, it becomes clear that the journey of self-discovery, change, and aware of the impact on the the real doesn't have a finish line set up. It is a continuous path of discovery, of revelation, and of the arrangements. With each step, this is an opportunity to connect more deeply with who we really are, to understand what drives us, and to align our actions with our dreams as the most authentic. And so, we construct a story that, in spite of the obstacles, reflect on our most pure, and the one that was always there, just waiting to be revealed to you. Because deep down, for the transformation of the most powerful happens when we give you permission to be more fully ourselves, without the masks, without the limitations imposed by fear or doubt. This is a journey that is worth it to be traced, in a journey that reveals the impact of living a life aligned with your true essence, the true, hidden, that a lot of times you just need a chance to come to the fore. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the real change doesn't just happen on the surface. It seeps into the deepest layers of our being, the essence of what often lies hidden behind the limiting beliefs and stories that we have learned throughout your life. This is the essence. The truth is hidden. It is like a seed of sleeping beauty. We just need to be careful, to grow, and to flourish in a natural and authentic. And in the process, we have found that many of our most important decisions, the ones that actually mold to the impact that we leave on the world, they are directly linked to our ability to be in touch with that inner truth. When we first started to explore this connection in more depth, we find that the fear is often the biggest hurdle. It acts as an invisible wall that blocks your access to our authenticity and feeding the doubts and insecurities that seem to be the giant in the face of our desire to be who we really are. It is as if, on the one hand, we want to share this truth to hide, to give voice to what really matters to you. But on the other hand, getting stuck in a script imposed on them by others, and by the expectations of society, or by a self-image that we created for you based on what you think it ought to be. And then, in the dead end, there is an internal conflict, which if not resolved, then it ends up fueling a cycle of dissatisfaction and stagnation. Because of this, the journey of transformation is necessarily a moment of courage, made a conscious decision to let go of that which no longer serves us. It is an act of liberation, a kind of rebirth, and that requires a different mindset, a mindset of acceptance, compassion for yourself, and a willingness to face up to the truth the more uncomfortable it is. The key is to realize that this is not really an enemy, but an ally to powerful. Once it was revealed, it gives us the strength to make choices that are aligned with who you really are, not for what others expect of us. And it is at this level that we can begin to understand the true impact of this change, when we were able to break free from the bondage of fear, and that our decisions are no longer driven by external interests or an endless search for approval. We act according to our values, our passions, and our most profound convictions. And this change of attitude echoes in all aspects of our daily lives, influences, relationships, career, health, emotional, and even the way we perceive the world around us. Each step in the path that shows behind the scenes that, until now, they were hiding, as if a curtain has to be lifted up to reveal the true history of what we've always wanted to live, but out of fear or doubt, it remained hidden. On this journey, we also found that the transformation is not a one-off event. It is a continuous process of self-discovery and of evolution. The more we allow ourselves to tap into this truth that is hidden, the more it grows inside of us, fueling a new mindset that values authenticity above all else. And when you do that, you start to realize the impact we can have on the world is entirely dependent upon our ability to be true to the essence, to act with courage, and to embrace who you truly are, without masks and face masks which conceal their true power. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this experience, and the truth itself is such a revelation is silent, which makes our perception of everything around us. When one is freed from the bonds built, we begin to see possibilities where before you could only see the limits. Life, it seemed to be a lot of obstacles. It is a journey of discovery and endless possibilities. It is as though, all of a sudden, our own history of gaining a new meaning, a new direction, one based on the authenticity and the courage to be who you really are, even if that means defying convention and deal with the discomfort of leaving the comfort zone. At the same time, we can begin to understand that this transformation is not only about the changes in the external or the immediate situation, it is, above all, an internal revolution, a change of mind, and has an impact on all decisions that we make. Each pass is to be made more aware, more aligned with our essence. And, at this deeper level, we found that the truth is hidden. We had been searching for had always been inside of you. She just needed a chance for it to be revealed to us, so that we can see with clarity who we are of the truth, and what is the impact of that. We want to make it in the world. And so, on this journey of self-discovery becomes a loop of continual revelations, in which each layer discovery opens up the space for new possibilities, new opportunities. It is a transformation process that is never ending, because real progress is in a constant quest for authenticity and to live in accordance with his own nature. And with that movement, every decision, every step is a statement of who we really are, to our deepest truth, and the impact we can make to live a full, fearless, and without the limitations imposed by the external world or our own questions. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because That is the journey of self-discovery and transformation. That is, in fact, a series of invisible, which takes place on the sidelines of the mind and the heart. It's like a work of art that only reveals its true beauty when we look closely at, with attention, to have the courage to look beyond the surface layer. Many times we get so caught up in the routine, which by the expectations of others and our own insecurities, that we forget that each and every decision that we make, it is a critical piece in the puzzle of authenticity. The freedom to be who we truly are, born out of the understanding that there is no roadmap to a single magic formula or an absolute truth. Each soul has its own pace, in your time and in your own account. In the process of continuous transformation, you begin to realize that the masks that we wear in order to please or to avoid conflicts do not pass through the filters hide who they really are. And this discovery is, no matter how challenging it may seem to you, it's liberating. Because it is at this point that we understand that the biggest impact we can have on the world, that is, in our sincerity, for the vulnerable. When we stop trying to fit in with our emotions, desires, and thoughts in a manner established, we have opened a space for a genuine connection with the most profound in all of us. It is as if, by making this conscious choice, our actions would reflect that of a true, authentic, and there's a version that was edited out of fear or by social conventions. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to understand that each and every decision, however small it may seem, it's an opportunity to affirm our experiences. This is not a quest for perfection, but an acceptance of our imperfections and our uniqueness. After all, it is the acceptance of that which is the strength of the growth is real. And it is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more interesting, rather than desesperarmos, with all faults, or in any way we have learned to look on these experiences, the opportunity to expand and adjust our route and reaffirm our core values. Each and every step is taken with a conscience. It becomes a statement of courage, triumph, silent against the inner voices that would try to make us change it. Such a transformation, while at the same time, it reveals a truth that hides many avoid confronting. Who is the biggest enemy of our authenticity? Many of the times, we are the same. The fear of judgment, rejection, or failure. It creates a kind of prison to recognize that prevent us from moving forward. But at the same time, it is this understanding that gives us the power to break the chains, to challenge our own questions, and to build up a mentality that is stronger and more resilient. This is not a fight to the outside world, but an inner battle, which, when defeated, it releases an energy that is infectious and inspiring, the energy which contracts, and that it inspires others to break free of your own shackles. And that's what's important to be aware of behind the scenes of the transformation. Because a lot of times, the major revelations that take place on the times I stop to listen to our own inner voice. In the midst of the distractions of day-to-day life, the connection to the core of who it may seem sleepy, but it never goes away completely. It just takes a moment of silence, a reflection, frankly, so that the interior light turn the light back on track. And when you do that, you start to realize the impact that it is possible to generate depends not on the big things or the external recognition, but also a paradigm shift that starts within ourselves, a move that enables us to live a lighter, more fully, more in tune with what really matters to you. As the journey continues, we are faced with new findings, new challenges, and each and every one of them, it is an opportunity for a deeper understanding. It's as if we're breaking down the behind the scenes of a theatrical production, where the real show happens to us in detail, on the choices for the day and the courage to be who you really are. And at the same time, we realize that this is a story that will never end, because the development is in a perpetual motion, a dance-off between who we are and what we want, and what impact we want to leave you out in the world. In this connection, the truth is hidden within each and every one of us is the one that gives meaning to our existence. It makes a single pass through the time, a true journey of self-transformation. For this reason, when you think about all of this, it is clear that true freedom comes from within, out of a conscious decision to live with authenticity, even when the way seems silent or unclear. Because deep down, that it is the greatest revolution that we may do to you. War to be true to who you truly are, without masks, without fears, without the constraints of a society that often tries to default to the core. And in doing so, we find that the impact of the most powerful is the one who comes from a life lived according to your truth, a truth that only in the use. And in that moment of discovery, it is the willingness to explore even more of the behind the scenes of this change, the understanding of how every choice, every thought, and every feeling is part of that movement is constantly evolving. Because, at the end of the day, it's a story that only you can write it with courage, love, and, above all, authentic. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this point that the real transformation is starting to take shape. We tend to think that change is something that is external, or a series of actions or decisions ad hoc. But in reality, it all starts in our mind, in our innermost thoughts, our beliefs, the most widespread. On this journey of evolution, it requires courage, tremendous, to face up to their own limitations and the stories we tell ourselves, and a lot of times, even with the masks we wear to hide our vulnerabilities. It is a process of self-discovery story that reveals hidden truths and dares us to rebuild our narrative, and with sincerity of purpose. When you stop to think about the impact of our daily decisions, we see that for each choice, as small as it may seem, it has a knock-on effect in the way. A decision to act with more kindness, to set aside time for yourself, to seek knowledge, or to abandon the fear of failure. It may sound simple, but it's in there. What happens to the whole house? This is a change of mindset. This is a transformation from the inside out. This is the one that determines the quality of the impact that we want to make it in the world. After all, it's not just to meet the goals of the outside, but to become someone who does not live in accordance with their deepest values. Someone who exudes the authenticity and courage in each and every step. And it is at this point that we discover that the journey of transformation, it is also a day of its release. Free yourself from the limiting beliefs, the patterns in the trap of the emotions that will often prevent us from moving forward. It's like opening a window into a new perspective, a more generous to yourself and to the universe around us. In this process, we have learned that the truth they carry a lot of times, these are only the stories that we have been accustomed to believe. And then, to the wonder of these stories, we can come up with a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who we really are, and we want to make it. The processing also requires an amount of patience, and out of respect for their time. There isn't a magic bullet, nor is it a script ready, which guarantees an immediate success. Each and every one of us has his own speed, in their own little nuances of their own suffering and achievements. And it is precisely this diversity that makes this journey so exciting. Because, as we have a deep dive on all of our experiences, we have found that with every step, that even the most difficult, it is essential to build a stronger, more aware, and more true to ourselves. And when you do that, you start to realize the impact we make on the world, not only in our actions, but also of who we are to the core. Meanwhile, all the universe conspires in favor of those who are willing to grow from the inside to the outside. Each and every hurdle, every challenge brings an opportunity for growth and a chance to test our resilience and to reaffirm our commitment to our development. And then, even in moments of doubt, when it feels like everything is falling apart, there is an invisible force that compels us to look forward, to seek a sense of meaning and purpose. After all, this journey is not only to do something outside, but that's about to become someone who does not live with more consciousness. You understand the impact of their choices, and above all, to remain true to our deepest truth. And then, when you think about all of this, we find that the transformation of a building's daily, an art that is perfected over time, with dedication and love of their own, every detail, every feeling that we cultivate, every decision that you take in order to become a better person, to contribute to this grand mosaic that is our story. And is this tile that we find our strength, our authenticity, our essence is pure. Because at the end, what really matters is the courage to be who you really are, to embrace our imperfections, and to faith in our journey of discovery. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this subject, because it is the truth hidden behind all of this change is to understand that it all begins with a decision. A decision is to look within, to challenge the limit, and take control of your own story. This is the starting point of a great message, one that happens behind the scenes of our innermost self, where the choices you make shape the impact that we leave on the world. And when you make that connection, we realize that true change doesn't come from the outside, but it is a change of mindset, an attitude of courage and self-confidence that allows you to surf the waves of life more lightly on the planet and purpose. And it is, without a doubt, one of the greatest revelations we have the following. Who are the authors of our own? A transformation. That is, even in the face of adversity, we all have the power to choose how you react, and how to grow and develop, and how to positively impact those around us. In the end, each step taken in this direction, it is a proof of that. We are willing to transform, not only our reality, but also our view of the world, thus contributing to the journey that is more authentic, more meaningful, and more in line with what you really are. And now, with this understanding, we begin to see the impact that we want to create is in fact a natural extension of who we choose to be each and every day. And it is precisely at this point that a lot of people are lost, and without notice that it is the transformation that you seek starts way before any of the achievement on the outside. It is rooted in the way we choose to interpret the world around us, the way we respond to the daily challenges, and the courage to challenge our own beliefs, or both. When we understand that each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it has the power to shape our experience. We begin to realize that real change comes from the inside out. It's as if every single thought, every action, it was a seed sown in the soil of our minds, and that we grow there will determine what we will reap a harvest in the future. I now want to go more in depth on that subject. The truth it hides many of the times. It is in the way we think about the challenges that stand in the way. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that success is solely dependent on the factors of the external environment, or luck, but the reality is quite another. The biggest part of the impact we can make is directly related to your willingness to learn, grow and develop, and persist even when everything seems to be conspiring against you. In this iteration, that inner strength, which we often call resilient, is what will determine if you'll just give up or turn each of of the drop-in as an opportunity for growth. Over the course of the journey, we begin to realize that it's all in our minds. It acts as a filter that influences all of our experience, our feelings, our choices, and, as a consequence, the results we have achieved. An open-minded, curious, that seek to understand the lessons that are hidden behind the obstacle, it is able to transform into any difficulties in the actual sources of learning. This is the look of the transformation, which allows us to see beyond the apparent limitations and to find out the possibilities before they were missed. With each revelation, each and every insight, it works like a piece of a puzzle that fit together, revealing a larger, more clear, more real. Because of this, the journey is not just about reaching goals or to get achievements in materials. It is, above all, a change of perspective. It is about learning to recognize the small wins every day in the to celebrate the progress, even if silently. Therefore, a lot of times, the greater the processing that happens in the behind the scenes of our mind, and where every thought is a seed that can germinate in the actions of the powerful. And the more aware we are of these seeds, the more you will be able to cultivate a growth mindset, hope, and courage. From this understanding, we can begin to understand the impact of what we would like to make in the world. It is a natural extension of what we cultivate in our lives. It's not a magical formula, but a daily choice to align our actions with our deepest values. It is about having the courage to face up to the truth it hides many times we prefer to ignore, that we are all responsible for the shaping of our own reality, and that every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are and what we want to leave a legacy. And to make informed decisions, we take steps each and every time more firmly in the direction of living a life that is more authentic, more in line with something that beats in your heart. At the same time, this understanding leads us to reflect on the impact of our actions on those around us. Every decision you make echoes, creating a wave that you can strengthen or weaken your journey together. It is for this reason that we understand the power of the transformation of the interior is just as crucial, because when we change ourselves, we have an effect on the environment. We inspire others to also become aware of this truth is hidden, which is often hidden in the routine of day-to-day. And so, the journey becomes a one string for the small breakthroughs and personal, which taken together can transform the world around us in ways that have not even imagined. And that connection between the inside and outside, and that is what makes it the quest for authenticity, as powerful as it is. When we align ourselves with who we really are, everything around you takes on a new meaning. Your decisions will no longer be a mere obligations, and if you make them the manifestations to be genuine for the purpose. And in the process, we find that the impact is not something that needs to be pursued at all costs, but rather a natural consequence of a life lived in harmony with our values of talking to people. It is a journey of discovery, and the constant revelation silent. We invite you to open your eyes and listen to the inner voice more closely. After all, it is the truth, hide the often hidden away within ourselves, waiting for the time to come out and show us the path to a more authentic self. And so, step by step in this direction, it is clear that the true transformation is not a final destination, but a continuous motion, in a dance, in which we learn to balance our emotions, our decisions, and our actions, and that is always looking for, is the impact that we want to make it. This is a dynamic that requires courage, but it also is a dose of patience, and of love itself. Because after all, the journey of transformation is to go on a journey of self-acceptance and understanding of who we are in a constant state of evolution. And then, how much more will we allow ourselves to this trend, the more natural it becomes to create a reality which reflects our essence and profound truth that is hidden, that which touches silently on the inside of each and every one of us, waiting for the moment to reveal himself and to make all of the difference. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly what many people are missing out, or worse still, making sure that the transformation is not a straight line, a process which will be completed at some point in time. It is a continuous journey, a kind of dance between what we are and what we will become tomorrow. And in this dance is more than just willpower. It requires a genuine connection with our inner selves, an honest look at in ourselves, even when the voice of fear try to relax, or to convince us that it is better to stay in your comfort zone. The truth is hidden. Oftentimes it's right there, in the small decisions we make on a day-to-day choices that seem to be insignificant, but it actually helps to shape our entire reality. Every thought, every word, every action has an impact that reverberates in the history of life. And it's this awareness that we are the authors of our own destiny. It's liberating, because you put us in charge of everything that goes on around us. But at the same time, it is not an option, because it shows you how you can be trapped in the patterns of behavior that, no matter how you look familiar, didn't reflect who we really are. When you start to realize that it is switched off, you can feel a sense of emptiness, or fragile, as if it were in front of a door that opened up into something that is unknown. It is here, at this turning point, that a lot of people would lose their fear of leaving what is already known about it for fear of getting hurt or failing. However, it is precisely at this point that our guts need to be strengthened, because it is here that the greatest revelation takes place. It is in the discomfort, doubt, and insecurity that we have found the most precious treasures: the opportunity to reinvent ourselves, to redeem our authenticity, and to become our limits on life lessons. Transformation, therefore, is not something external that you can gain by using a method or a silver bullet. It grows from the inside to the outside of a conscious decision to look at our shadows, our deepest fears, and be willing to accept them with love. It requires a growth mindset, a willingness to look at each challenge as an opportunity to expand and learn. After all, it is the impact of the change in the internal echo in our daily lives, in the way that we interact in the course of our career choices, and even the way we perceive the world around us. It is in the process of auto-questionamento, a review of the values, beliefs, and that often we are the largest available. Find out what we thought of as the absolute truth is, in fact, a social construct, a story that has been imposed on us by outside influences. It gives us a sense of freedom, the freedom that it allows us to create an all-new story, which is based on our authenticity. Our essence is the purest. Most often, it is hidden beneath the layers of expectations, fear, and convention centers. The journey of transformation, it also brings to light what is called the impact of the invisible, the one that happens behind the scenes in our minds and in our hearts. Just like a seed, it takes time and care to cultivate our internal changes, also require the patience, the persistence, and most of all, love yourself. It is this combination that helps us to maintain focus, even when the results seem to be far away, or when we are faced with obstacles that seem bigger than you can handle. Get to know yourself more deeply, understand their emotions, their motivations, and their limits. This is the road to transformation is genuine. It does not rely on external factors, such as, but that's the power we have to shape our own reality according to our choices. When you think about all of this, we see that the truth is hidden. That which beats within each and every one of us has the potential to overwhelming impact. One small decision can bring about a radical transformation, a revolution on the inside. And in this revolution, in turn, has the power to influence not only our lives, but also the lives around us, creating a chain of impact that goes above and beyond what we could ever imagine. Because deep down, it all begins with a decision. Is the decision to look within, to embrace our vulnerability, and to make a commitment to evolve, even if that path will be full of ups and downs. And so, as we continue to explore the behind the scenes of our own history, it becomes clear that it's the greatest revelation. It is the courage to be truly honest with ourselves. Because when we do that, it changes everything. The masks fall off, and the lies we tell ourselves and lose their strength and authenticity, and shall become our greatest ally in building a life that truly reflects who you are, in fact. And at this point, the transformation is no longer a promise in the distant, and it becomes a tangible reality, a journey that is where we can help you with a choice. Either accept the challenge of figuring out day to day, our truth is hidden. If you've come this far, it's because I identify with the journey of self-discovery and the search for authenticity. I believe that now is a huge accomplishment, and that every little bit of reflection, we share it here, you can make all the difference in your day-to-day. If this content made any sense to you, please leave a like. It shows us that we are on the right path and helps to strengthen the connection that you have created in the course of the movie. And of course, if you want to continue to explore this subject, we invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we share ideas, learn together, and seek to learn more about who we are. In fact, with a freshness of approach. And it is true. Your support makes all the difference. So be sure to drop a comment saying, "I'm with you till the end," or whatever it was for you. Thus, we are able to build a strong community where everyone feels accepted to go on this journey. Oh, and there's a video right here on the side that complements precisely this issue that we talked about right now. Click there to continue with me. I am sure it will help you to deepen this connection with you. After all, this is just the beginning. And the best thing about it is that each and every step is an opportunity to learn about a new version of yourself. So, stay with me, and until the next video.